Fame, fortune, packed arenas, yet behind the spotlight music legends are waging brutal battles against Parkinson's, ALS, organ failure and more. Today we expose 25 famous musicians' hidden health struggles, from rock icons to pop superstars, reminding us that celebrity health updates can be as heartbreaking as any lyrics. Stay to the end for the unbelievable way one guitarist still writes hits while almost completely paralyzed. Hit subscribe for more shocking music industry truths. Let's dive in. Coming in on our countdown is a voice so powerful, so iconic it feels like it could move mountains. We're talking about the one, the only, Celine Dion. For decades, her soaring vocals on hits like My Heart Will Go On and The Power of Love became the gold standard, a benchmark of technical perfection and raw emotional power. Her Las Vegas residencies were legendary, selling out night after night, as fans flocked from around the world just to witness that 5-octave range in person. She was, and is, a global treasure, a vocal powerhouse who seemed absolutely untouchable, an unstoppable force of nature on the world stage. But behind the sold-out shows and standing ovations, a terrifying and mysterious battle was beginning. Celine started experiencing debilitating symptoms that no one could explain, forcing her to postpone shows with cryptic apologies that left fans worried but unaware of the true severity. The truth, when it finally came, was shocking. She was diagnosed with an incredibly rare neurological disorder known as stiff person syndrome. This isn't just a case of muscle aches or fatigue, it's a relentless autoimmune condition where the body's own defenses attack the central nervous system, causing agonizing, uncontrollable muscle spasms that can be as violent as they are painful. Imagine being a singer whose entire instrument is her body, and suddenly, that very instrument turns against you. The spasms are unpredictable and severe, capable of locking up her limbs, her torso, and most terrifyingly, the very muscles in her throat that produce that legendary sound. Her Vegas residency, once the pinnacle of live entertainment, has been put on indefinite hold. The stage that was her kingdom now sits empty as she undergoes intensive treatments. A grueling regimen of therapies and medications aimed at taming this relentless disorder. The fight is no longer for a chart position, it's a fight for control over her own body. For her millions of devoted fans, the news was devastating. The question on everyone's mind is a heartbreaking one. Will her legendary voice be silenced forever by this cruel disease? Every update is scrutinized, every public statement analyzed for a glimmer of hope. It's a story of immense strength in the face of unimaginable adversity. The woman who sang about her heart going on now finds herself in a daily battle to simply make her muscles go on. The world holds its breath, praying that the icon who gave us so much can find a way to overcome. From the ethereal voice of an angel, we now turn to the roaring growl of a rock and roll demon. For over 50 years, Ozzy Osbourne has been the undisputed Prince of Darkness. As the frontman of Black Sabbath and a wildly successful solo artist, he's cultivated an image of indestructibility, biting the head off a bat, wild off-stage antics, a life lived at maximum volume. Ozzy seemed more myth than man, a heavy metal madman who had cheated death so many times it became his signature move. He was the ultimate survivor, the Iron Man of rock who seemed destined to be headbanging on stage forever, a permanent fixture of rebellion. But even the Prince of Darkness cannot outrun the quiet creep of time and illness. In a candid, heartbreaking interview, Ozzy revealed a diagnosis that sent shockwaves through the rock community. He is battling Parkinson's disease. This isn't a rock and roll injury that can be patched up. It's a progressive neurodegenerative disorder that attacks the body from within. As if that weren't enough, his health was further shattered by a horrific fall at home, which dislodged the metal rods in his spine from a previous ATV accident. This led to multiple agonizing spine surgeries, a cascade of medical crises that have left him in a state of constant pain. The larger-than-life showman now faces a daily, grueling reality. The signature energy that defined his performances has been replaced by constant tremors, a hallmark of Parkinson's. He suffers from debilitating nerve pain that makes every movement an ordeal, and he has spoken openly about the crushing depression that accompanies such a loss of physical autonomy. The man who once commanded stadiums of thousands has had to cancel tour after tour, his body simply refusing to cooperate with his unwavering rock and roll spirit. It's a cruel irony for an artist whose entire career was built on explosive physical energy. Yet, in true Ozzy fashion, there's a fire that refuses to be extinguished. Even amidst the pain and the setbacks, the Prince of Darkness vows to return. He speaks of doing one last show, a final farewell on his own terms, if his body will just grant him that one last opportunity to say goodbye to his fans from the stage. It's a testament to the warrior spirit that has defined him for half a century. The battle is immense, the odds are stacked against him, but Ozzy Osbourne is not going down without a fight. The darkness may be closing in, but he's still looking for one more chance to scream into the void. Coming in at number 3 on our countdown is a true music icon, a powerhouse drummer who became one of the most recognizable voices of a generation. We're talking about the one and only Phil Collins. For decades, he was the driving force behind Genesis and a chart-topping solo artist, known for that legendary gated reverb drum sound and ballads that really defined an era. His energy on stage was infectious, a whirlwind of motion behind the kit or commanding the microphone center stage. But the years of relentless touring and thunderous drumming have taken a devastating toll, leading to a battle that has fundamentally changed how he shares his gift with the world. The journey has been long, and the physical price, incredibly high. The core of his struggle stems from a severely damaged spine, an injury that has had a catastrophic domino effect throughout his body. A dislocated vertebra in his upper neck, a result of years of drumming posture, led to crushing nerve damage that radiated down into his hands. This wasn't just a minor ache, it was a profound loss of function that robbed him of his primary instrument. The man who delivered the iconic drum fill on "In the Air Tonight" can now barely even hold a drumstick, a heartbreaking reality for him and his millions of fans. The nerve damage is so extensive that he now lives with constant discomfort and a frustrating inability to do what once came so naturally. Now when Phil Collins takes the stage, it's a starkly different picture. He performs seated, appearing stick-thin and visibly frail, a shadow of the energetic frontman he once was. His son, Nick Collins, has bravely stepped into his father's enormous shoes, taking over drumming duties for Genesis tours, a poignant and powerful passing of the torch. But Phil is still there, front and center, his voice, though weathered, still delivering those classic hits. Doctors have issued stark warnings, cautioning that any further collapse of his spine could have fatal consequences, making every single performance a testament to his sheer willpower and dedication to his craft and his audience. Despite the immense physical challenges, the pain, and the doctor's grim prognoses, the spirit of the artist endures. When the opening notes of "In the Air Tonight" begin, and Phil leans into the microphone, he belts out those legendary lyrics with a raw, palpable emotion that is almost overwhelming. It's a performance fueled not by physical power but by pure heart and a lifetime of musical soul. He may have lost the ability to play the fill, but he hasn't lost the fire that created it. This is Phil Collins, the survivor, reminding us all that even when the body weakens, the voice of a true legend can still echo with incredible power. At number 4, we have a singer-songwriter whose anthems have become a permanent part of the global soundtrack. From Sweet Caroline to Cracklin' Rosie, Neil Diamond is a true American treasure, a showman whose sparkling shirts were matched only by the brilliance of his songwriting. For 50 years he was a king of the road, his concerts massive, joyful celebrations where entire stadiums would sing along to every word. His connection with his audience was legendary, built on decades of relentless touring and unforgettable live performances. But in 2018, the music world was stunned when this seemingly unstoppable force made a sudden, heartbreaking announcement that brought the party to an abrupt end. The cause was a shock diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, a progressive nervous system disorder that affects movement. For a performer as dynamic and physical as Neil Diamond, the news was devastating. The disease typically brings tremors, stiffness, and difficulty with balance and coordination, all of which make the rigors of touring impossible to sustain. With a heavy heart, and on the advice of his doctors, he immediately canceled the final leg of his 50th anniversary tour, abruptly quitting the life on the road that had defined his entire career. The decision was not made lightly. It was a necessary surrender to a relentless opponent, a choice made to preserve his health and dignity. Since stepping away from the stage, Neil Diamond's life has become a different kind of performance, a daily fight against the progression of his illness. He has thrown himself into intense therapy, a grueling regimen of physical and vocal exercises designed to slow the telltale tremors and maintain his strength. It's a private battle fought away from the roar of the crowd, requiring immense discipline and resilience. He has admitted that the fight is relentless, a constant effort to maintain control over his own body. Every day presents a new set of challenges, a new test of his resolve to keep the symptoms at bay for as long as humanly possible. While the therapy helps manage the physical aspects, the disease also attacks the very tools of his trade. Diamond has spoken candidly about the struggle, confessing that even the simple acts of writing clearly or speaking with his trademark resonance are now a daily battle. The man whose voice-filled arenas now works hard just to articulate his thoughts. And yet, the music has not died. He continues to find solace in songwriting, even if the process is slower and more arduous. The Sweet Caroline legend may have left the stage, but he is determined to ensure that his voice, in whatever form it takes, will not be silenced. Our number 5 artist is a voice of pure velvet, a Grammy-winning queen of soul whose elegance and emotional depth captivated the world. We are talking, of course, about the incredible Roberta Flack. Her timeless recordings like Killing Me Softly with his song and The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face are more than just songs, they are profound, intimate experiences. Her nuanced delivery and masterful piano playing created a unique space in music, one defined by quiet power and sophisticated grace. For decades, her voice has been a source of comfort and beauty for millions, a gentle force that could soothe any soul. But now, that celebrated voice has been silenced. In a truly devastating turn of events, Roberta Flack was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, more commonly known as ALS. This brutal, progressive neurodegenerative disease attacks nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord, leading to a gradual loss of muscle control. For a singer, the diagnosis is particularly terrifying as it inevitably affects the muscles required for breathing and vocalization. The disease sadly claimed her life on February 25, 2025. This year, the voice that so softly and beautifully narrated the stories of our lives is now gone, tragically erased by this relentless illness. The loss of her voice is a profound tragedy, not just for her fans but for the world of music. Roberta Flack's instrument was a thing of rare beauty, capable of conveying immense emotion in the space of a single, perfectly controlled note. Roberta Flack's spirit lives on, ensuring her legacy extends far beyond her own recordings. While the disease may have brought her life to a tragic end, it cannot touch her immense musical soul, or the indelible mark she has left on the world. Her music lives on, a timeless testament to the woman who killed us softly with her song. Coming in at number 6 on our countdown is a name synonymous with sunshine surf and the most intricate harmonies in pop history, the legendary Brian Wilson. For decades, the creative force behind the Beach Boys has been celebrated not just for his musical genius, but for his resilience in a very public battle with mental health. His struggles were woven into the fabric of his story, a dark undertow beneath the sun-drenched melodies. But now, sadly, he died recently on June 11, 2025. The last chapter in Wilson's life was marked by a diagnosis that many families fear: dementia. Reports suggest the early stages of this cognitive decline begun to cast a shadow over his daily life, making it difficult for him to manage his own affairs. This isn't about a missed note or a forgotten lyric. It was a gradual fading of the world around him. In a move that echoes the complexities of his past, a court was forced to step in, appointing a conservatorship to ensure his health and personal needs were met, a painful necessity for a man who once orchestrated every last detail of his complex musical arrangements. Friends and family close to the iconic songwriter say that while the composer of Good Vibrations may have struggled with day-to-day realities, his music always remained a powerful anchor. It's a testament to the profound connection between an artist and their art. They describe moments where a familiar melody would cut through the fog, sparking a glimmer of recognition, a flicker of the old brilliance in his eyes. Music, the language he used to reshape the world, become his last most reliable bridge. The legacy he built stands as a towering monument. His fans around the globe are left to hope that even as his world changes, the beautiful vibrations he sent out into the universe will continue to bring him, and us, some measure of comfort and peace. At number 7, we remember a voice that could move mountains, a voice of pure gold that defined a generation of rock, pop, and country music. We're talking about the incomparable Linda Ronstadt. For years, she was the queen, effortlessly soaring from intimate ballads to stadium-rocking anthems with a power and clarity that was simply unmatched. Her voice was an instrument of breathtaking precision and raw emotion. But then, one day, the instrument began to fail her. She noticed she couldn't control the notes, that the effortless power she had always commanded was gone. The diagnosis was as devastating as it was rare. Initially, doctors suspected Parkinson's disease, a common misdiagnosis for her actual condition, a rare and cruel neurological disorder called progressive supranuclear palsy, or PSP. This degenerative disease doesn't just affect movement, it specifically targets the parts of the brain that control motor functions, including the complex mechanics of singing. For a vocalist like Ronstat, whose entire identity was tied to her phenomenal vocal gift, it was a catastrophic blow. The disease effectively robbed her of her ability to sing, silencing one of the most celebrated voices of the 20th century forever. Today, Linda Ronstadt is wheelchair-bound, the physical toll of PSP evident. But while the disease may have stolen her ability to create music, it has not stolen her spirit or her deep love for the art form. She can no longer hit the soaring notes of Blue Bayou or You're No Good, but she has channeled her passion into a new role, a mentor. She now dedicates her time to advising and guiding a new generation of young singers, passing on the wisdom and insight she gained over a lifetime at the top. Her golden voice may now only exist on tape, but her influence continues to shape the future of music. It is a story of profound loss but also incredible grace. Linda Ronstadt has faced an artist's worst nightmare with a dignity that is truly inspiring. She speaks openly about her condition, raising awareness for a little-known disease while refusing to be defined by what she has lost. Instead, she focuses on what she can still give. She is a living legend who reminds us that even when the song ends, the melody of a well-lived life and a passion for art can and will linger on in the hearts of others. Her voice may be silent, but her legacy roars. Our number 8 spot belongs to a guitar hero whose innovative sound became the soundtrack of the 70s. Get ready for Peter Frampton. With his talkbox wizardry on the iconic album Frampton Comes Alive, he didn't just play the guitar, he made it speak, sing, and roar, creating a connection with audiences that felt personal and electric. His fingers danced across the fretboard with a fluid grace that seemed almost superhuman. But in a cruel twist of fate, the very muscles that allowed him to create his magic are now betraying him in a slow, relentless decline. The clock is ticking for this rock and roll virtuoso. Frampton was diagnosed with a rare and degenerative condition called inclusion body myositis, or IBM. This inflammatory muscle disease causes progressive weakness and wasting, particularly in the muscles of the wrists and fingers and the thighs. For a guitarist of Frampton's caliber whose entire career is built on speed, dexterity, and strength in his hands, the diagnosis was a devastating, career-ending sentence. He knew that sooner or later the day would come when he could no longer hold a pick, let alone fly across the strings to play the solos that made him a legend. Faced with this terrifying reality, Peter Frampton made a choice not of surrender, but of defiance. He decided to race against the inevitable. Knowing his time on stage was limited, he announced a farewell tour, giving his fans one last chance to experience the magic live. Night after night, often seated to conserve his strength, he poured every ounce of his remaining energy into his performance. He also threw himself into the recording studio, working non-stop to capture as much music as possible before the disease progressed to the point where playing his beloved instrument would become physically impossible. This final act is a testament to his unbreakable passion for music. It's a frantic, beautiful, and heartbreaking sprint to the finish line. Frampton is not just playing for the crowd, he's playing against the encroaching silence, leaving behind a final, powerful testament on tape. His story is a poignant reminder that our time to do what we love is finite, and he is determined to make every single note count. The magic may be fading from his muscles, but the soul of his music will, without a doubt, come alive forever. Coming in at number 9 on our countdown is a true icon, a poet with a guitar whose voice defined a generation. We're talking about the one and only Joanie Mitchell. Her journey, folks, is a testament to the sheer unyielding power of the human spirit. It's a story that goes beyond the music, beyond the platinum albums and the sold-out shows. In 2015, the world held its breath when news broke that Mitchell had suffered a near-fatal brain aneurysm. This wasn't just a health scare, it was a catastrophic event that threatened to silence one of music's most distinctive and influential voices forever, leaving fans and fellow artists in a state of shock and disbelief. The road back from that moment has been nothing short of grueling. Imagine having to relearn the most basic functions, the very things we take for granted every single day. Joanie had to learn how to walk again, step by painstaking step. She had to learn how to talk again, forming words that once flowed so effortlessly in her profound lyrics. And most heartbreakingly, she had to find her voice again, coaxing melodies from a body that had endured unimaginable trauma. As if that wasn't enough, she has also spoken about a debilitating mysterious ailment she calls Morgellons-like illness, adding another layer of chronic pain and struggle to her daily existence. But if you think that's where her story ends, you don't know Joanie Mitchell. After years of intense private rehabilitation, she began to emerge, slowly but surely. It started with small appearances, then jam sessions at her home that became legendary in their own right. The real jaw-dropping moment came in 2022 when she made a surprise appearance at the Newport Folk Festival. Seated on a golden throne, she didn't just sing a song or two, she delivered a full, powerful set. The crowd was in tears, witnessing a miracle. It was a comeback for the ages, a performance that wasn't just about music but about defiance, courage, and the pure love of the craft. These occasional triumphant cameos are a beacon of hope, proving that the fire within her burns as brightly as ever. However, the reality is that her stamina remains incredibly fragile, a constant reminder of the battles she's fought and continues to fight. Each performance is a monumental effort, a precious gift that she shares with the world. Joanie Mitchell's story isn't just about survival. It's about a creative spirit so powerful that not even a brain aneurysm and chronic illness could extinguish it. She is, and always will be, a true living legend, reminding us all that even in the quietest moments the most powerful songs can still be written. At number 10, we turn our attention to one of the most polarizing and influential figures in modern art and music. A woman whose name is synonymous with the avant-garde and a love story for the ages. We are, of course, talking about Yoko Ono. For decades, she has been a force of nature, constantly pushing boundaries and challenging perceptions. Now, in her 90s, a profound quiet has settled around her public life, leading to widespread concern and speculation among her legions of followers and critics alike. The once ubiquitous presence at art openings and peace rallies is now rarely seen, a stark contrast to her highly visible past. The whispers and rumors have been swirling for years, painting a picture of a fiercely private icon grappling with the inevitable frailties of age. Credible reports suggest she is largely confined to a wheelchair, her mobility severely limited by what is described as fragile bones. This, combined with rumored serious cardiac issues, has necessitated a retreat from the public eye. Her dedicated team, fiercely protective of her privacy and legacy, keeps specific details under a tight seal. This deliberate silence, while understandable, has only fueled more intense speculation about her health and her ability to continue her life's work as an artist and activist. This mystery surrounding her current condition creates a poignant backdrop to her immense legacy. Is she still creating? Is she still finding ways to express the powerful, often controversial ideas that have defined her career? Fans wonder if there are final creative works, perhaps a last album or a final piece of conceptual art, waiting to be revealed. Her life with John Lennon was lived so openly, so publicly, that this current chapter of quiet seclusion feels all the more profound and, for many, deeply saddening. It's a stark reminder that even the most formidable figures face the universal challenges of aging and mortality. What remains undeniable is Yoko Ono's impact on culture. From her early days in the Fluxus art movement to her experimental music and her tireless campaigning for world peace, she has never been afraid to use her platform. As she lives out her days in private, the world is left to ponder her final chapter. Is this a period of quiet reflection, or a final, silent performance piece from an artist who always kept us guessing? Whatever the truth may be, the intrigue surrounding Yoko Ono's health serves as one last fascinating puzzle from a woman who built a career on them. The world watches and waits respectfully. Breaking into our list at number 11 is a true genius, a man whose music is the soundtrack to our lives, a titan of Motown and a global treasure. You know who I'm talking about, the incredible Stevie Wonder. For decades, he's gifted us with timeless hits, from Superstition to I Just Called to Say I Love You, all while radiating an infectious joy. But behind that brilliant smile and those iconic sunglasses, Stevie has been fighting a serious and life-threatening health battle. In 2019, the world was stunned to learn that the music legend was in desperate need of a kidney transplant, a revelation that put his future in question. The procedure was a success, a moment of profound relief for his family, friends, and millions of fans around the globe. It was a second chance at life, a gift he has spoken about with immense gratitude. However, the journey doesn't end with the surgery. A kidney transplant requires a lifetime of vigilance. Stevie now battles the ongoing threat of organ rejection and is susceptible to serious infection scares, challenges that demand constant medical oversight and a careful lifestyle. Every single time he steps onto a stage now, it's more than just a concert. It's a victory lap, a celebration of life itself, and a testament to his incredible resilience. You might think that facing such a monumental health crisis would slow a person down, that it might cause them to finally rest on their laurels after a 6-decade career. But this is Stevie Wonder we're talking about, an artist whose creative wellspring seems bottomless. In interviews, he doesn't dwell on his health scares. Instead, his eyes light up when he talks about the future. He insists that he has new albums ready to go, that the songs are, in his words, already in his head, just waiting for the right moment to be shared with the world. It's a powerful statement of his enduring passion for music. This unwavering optimism is what defines Stevie Wonder's current chapter. He's not just a survivor, he's a thriver, channeling his experiences into his art. The man who taught the world about the sunshine of my life continues to be a beacon of light himself, refusing to let health challenges dim his creative vision or his spirit. He stands as a powerful example of how to face adversity with grace, courage, and an unshakable belief in the power of a song. Every note he plays and every word he sings carries a new weight, a deeper meaning, reminding us all to cherish every single moment. Coming in at number 12, we have a true American original, a national treasure whose unmistakable voice and well-worn guitar, Trigger, have defined country music for generations. We're talking about the one and only Willie Nelson. For over half a century, he's been on the road again, a relentless troubadour weaving tales of heartbreak, freedom, and life lived on his own terms. His concerts are legendary communal gatherings where thousands sing along to every word, but behind that iconic braided hair and ever-present grin, a serious battle is being waged, one that threatens to finally silence the music that has been the soundtrack to so many lives. The price of a lifetime spent on tour buses and in smoky honky-tonks is now being paid. Willie has been incredibly open about his struggles with emphysema and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. These conditions have been exacerbated by decades of heavy smoking, a habit he famously traded for vaping but whose damage was already done. The very act of breathing, something we all take for granted, has become a conscious effort. The long, sustained notes that were once effortless now require immense focus and strain, turning every performance into a high-wire act of endurance against his own body. Imagine the scene. The lights dim, the crowd roars, and out walks this living legend, now in his 90s. But just off stage, waiting in the wings is a stark reminder of his fragility. An oxygen tank. It's a silent partner in his performance, a necessary tool to help him get through a 2-hour set. You can sometimes hear the catch in his breath between verses, a momentary pause that speaks volumes about the fight he's enduring. Yet, he grabs Trigger, flashes that familiar smile, and launches into another classic, his spirit refusing to be diminished by the physical limitations closing in on him. It's an incredible testament to his love for the music and his connection with his fans. At an age when most have long since retired, Willie Nelson is still out there, defying the odds and his doctor's advice. He strums his guitar between coughing fits, his voice may be raspier, a little more weathered, but the soul behind it is as powerful as ever. He is a symbol of pure, unadulterated grit. The red-headed stranger isn't just singing his songs, he's living them, proving that even when your breath is short, your legacy can be everlasting. He's not just on the road again, he's fighting to stay there. At number 13, we crank up the volume and dive into the world of glam metal mayhem with a guitarist whose riffs are as iconic as his band's legendary debauchery. From the opening growl of Shout at the Devil to the sleazy swagger of Girls, 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 Mick Mars was the sonic architect of Motley Crue. His heavy, blues-infused licks provided the menacing backbone to the band's wild party anthems. On stage, he was the quiet, mysterious figure, letting his blistering guitar solos do all the talking. But beneath the top hat and gothic makeup, Mick was hiding a secret, a painful condition that began its relentless assault when he was just a teenager. This wasn't a battle born from the rock and roll lifestyle. This was a war waged within his own skeleton. Mick was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, or AS, a severe form of arthritis that primarily affects the spine. Over the decades, this cruel disease has caused the vertebrae in his spine to fuse together, a process often described as turning the spine into a single, rigid piece of bamboo. The result is excruciating, chronic pain and a posture that has left him stooped forward, his body locked in a seemingly permanent bow. The pain is a constant companion, a shadow that has followed him through every sold-out stadium show and platinum album. For years, he pushed through the agony, refusing to let it stop him from touring with one of the biggest bands on the planet. But eventually, the physical toll became too much to bear. The constant travel, the punishing demands of a live performance, and the sheer force of the pain led to a decision that broke the hearts of millions of fans. Mick Mars announced his retirement from touring. He could no longer stand on stage and deliver the high-energy performance that Motley Crue is famous for. It was a devastating end to an era forced not by choice but by a body that had simply endured all it could. But don't you dare count him out. This story is not one of defeat, it's a story of adaptation and sheer unyielding will. While he may have left the road, Mick Mars has not left the music. He now records from a seated position. His body may be rigid and uncooperative, but his fingers still fly across the fretboard with astonishing speed and precision. The riffs he's creating for his solo work are as molten hot and ferocious as ever. He is proving that even when your spine is fused and your body is in revolt, the soul of a rock star can never be broken. Our story at number 14 is one of the most astonishing, heartbreaking, and ultimately inspiring sagas in the history of modern music. Prepare to meet a name that for a brief, brilliant moment was set to redefine the very limits of guitar playing, Jason Becker. In the late 1980s, he was a true prodigy, a guitar virtuoso whose technical skill, speed, and melodic creativity were simply breathtaking. He was on top of the world, having just landed the coveted lead guitarist spot in David Lee Roth's band, following in the giant footsteps of Steve Vai. At just 20 years old, superstardom wasn't just a possibility, it felt like a certainty. Then, the unthinkable happened. As he was preparing for the tour, Jason noticed a strange limp in his leg, a weakness that he couldn't explain. The diagnosis that followed was a death sentence. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, the same neurodegenerative disease that struck down Lou Gehrig. The doctors gave him 3 to 5 years to live. They told him he would soon lose the ability to walk, to talk, to move, and eventually, to breathe. The lightning-fast fingers that were poised to mesmerize the world would soon fall silent. It was a cruel, unimaginable twist of fate for a young man on the absolute brink of glory. The disease progressed with devastating speed. Soon, Jason was confined to a wheelchair, unable to hold his guitar, his body betraying him piece by piece. The 3-year prognosis came and went. Decades have now passed, and against all medical odds, Jason Becker is still with us. He survives today with the help of a ventilator to breathe and a feeding tube for nourishment, completely paralyzed except for the movement of his eyes. But this is where the story turns from one of tragedy to one of pure, mind-bending perseverance. His passion for music could not be extinguished by a body that no longer worked. Trapped inside his silent prison, Jason's mind remains a fertile ground for musical creation. Using a remarkable system developed by his father, he composes complex, beautiful, and powerful orchestral and rock music with his eyes. By looking at a grid of letters, notes, and musical commands on a screen, he painstakingly spells out every chord, every melody, every intricate arrangement. His family and a team of dedicated musicians then help bring his vision to life. He has released multiple albums this way, his compositions more profound and emotional than ever. Jason Becker's story completely redefines what it means to be a musician, proving that the true instrument is not the hands or the voice, but the uncrushable human spirit. Coming in at number 15 on our countdown is a true giant of rock, the architect of heavy metal, Black Sabbath's legendary riffmaster, Tony Iommi. For decades, his earth-shattering guitar sound has defined a genre, a sonic blueprint built on power, darkness, and unmistakable force. But behind the iconic Black Gibson SG and the wall of sound is a man who has stared down his own mortality and continues to fight a relentless battle. It's a fight that began not on stage, but in a doctor's office, with a diagnosis that would change everything. The very foundation of heavy metal was shaken when the world learned that its creator was facing lymphoma, a formidable cancer that threatened to silence the Iron Man for good. The initial shock of a cancer diagnosis is a moment that stops the world, but for Tony Iommi, the fight was just beginning. He endured grueling rounds of chemotherapy and radiation, a punishing regimen that saps the body of its strength and the spirit of its will. Fans around the globe held their breath, sending waves of support as the man who penned Iron Man and Paranoid undertook his most personal and terrifying battle. This wasn't just about fighting a disease, it was about preserving a legacy, about ensuring the master could return to his craft, and through it all, the music never left him, a constant companion and a driving force pushing him through the darkest days of treatment and uncertainty. Incredibly, Tony beat the lymphoma into remission, a victory celebrated by the entire music community. But the war isn't over. It's a cold war fought with constant vigilance. He now endures regular maintenance chemo treatments, a necessary evil to keep the cancer at bay, each session a reminder of his body's fragility. And let's not forget the challenge he has faced his entire career, the loss of his fingertips in a factory accident as a teenager, a setback that forced him to invent a new way to play using plastic prosthetics. The combination of these physical hurdles makes every performance, every recording session a monumental effort that drains his energy in short, intense bursts. Today, the godfather of metal channels his remaining energy with precision. He can no longer commit to the grueling demands of a world tour, but the creative fire has not been extinguished. He jams and records in his studio, working in focused, energy-sapping bursts, laying down riffs that are as heavy and vital as ever. Doctors continue to monitor him for any sign of relapse, a shadow that perpetually looms. Yet Tony Iommi stands defiant, a testament to resilience. His fingers, both real and prosthetic, still conjuring the dark magic that started it all, proving that even in the face of life's heaviest burdens, the music plays on. At number 16, we have the ultimate rock and roll survivor, a man who has cheated death so many times it's become part of his legend, the one and only Bret Michaels. The Poison frontman is the living embodiment of the nothing but a good time ethos, a charismatic force of nature who has dominated stages for decades. But beneath the bandana, the leather, and the rock star swagger is a man locked in a lifelong multi-front war with his own body. His journey is a staggering medical saga that began in childhood with a diagnosis of type 1 diabetes, a condition requiring constant meticulous management of blood sugar and insulin, a daily tightrope walk that never, ever ends. That alone would be a heavy burden for any performer, but for Bret, it was just the opening act. His story took a truly terrifying turn with a series of life-threatening events that would have ended most careers, if not most lives. He suffered a subarachnoid brain hemorrhage, a catastrophic bleed at the base of his brain that left him in critical condition, with an excruciating headache he described as feeling like being shot in the head. As if that wasn't enough, doctors then discovered a hole in his heart that required complex surgery. This wasn't just a health scare. It was a full-blown medical crisis that played out in the public eye, a harrowing drama for the rock icon. Just when you thought it couldn't get any more intense, Bret's body threw another punch. He's had to face down recurring bouts of skin cancer, another serious battle requiring surgical intervention and constant monitoring. It's an almost unbelievable list of ailments: diabetes, a brain hemorrhage, heart surgery, and skin cancer. Each one is a major medical event on its own. Together, they form a relentless assault. Yet somehow, Bret Michaels refuses to be sidelined. He pushes through the pain, the fatigue, and the constant medical vigilance with a resolve that borders on superhuman, a testament to his sheer force of will. So, what's his secret? How does he keep hitting the stage with the same high-octane energy he had in the 80s? According to Bret himself, it's a combination of a strict diet, rigorous physical discipline to manage his diabetes, and what he cheekily calls an unbreakable ego. It's that unshakable belief in himself, that rock star confidence that fuels his refusal to surrender. He is a walking, talking, singing miracle of modern medicine and pure grit, a man who juggles insulin shots and guitar solos, proving that for some people every single day is a reason to rock and roll all night. Our number 17 artist is a global superstar who came of age in the spotlight and is now using that same spotlight to illuminate a very personal and powerful struggle: the immensely talented Selena Gomez. From Disney star to pop icon, her career has been a masterclass in evolution, with hit songs and acclaimed acting roles defining a generation. But while her professional life soared, her personal life became a quiet and then very public battle against a host of formidable health challenges. It all started with the diagnosis of lupus, a cruel and unpredictable autoimmune disease where the body's own immune system turns on itself, attacking healthy tissues and organs. For Selena, lupus wasn't just a diagnosis. It was a life-altering reality that brought with it debilitating fatigue, joint pain, and serious complications. The disease took a dire turn when it began to attack her kidneys, leading to a critical moment where her life hung in the balance. In a profound act of friendship, her close friend Francia Raisa donated a kidney, a life-saving transplant that Selena underwent in secret before sharing her story with the world. This wasn't just a surgery, it was a second chance at life. But it also meant a lifetime of anti-rejection medication and the constant fear of complications, a heavy weight for anyone, let alone a young woman at the peak of her career. The physical toll of lupus and a major organ transplant would be more than enough for anyone to handle. But Selena's journey toward wellness involved another crucial component, her mental health. With incredible bravery, she has spoken openly about her diagnosis of bipolar disorder, pulling back the curtain on the emotional highs and lows that she navigates alongside her physical ailments. She has described periods of chemo-like exhaustion from her lupus treatments and the intense emotional swings of her mental health journey, refusing to suffer in silence and in doing so, giving a voice to millions who face similar struggles away from the public eye. In a world that often demands perfection from its stars, Selena Gomez has chosen radical vulnerability. She openly shares her flare-ups, her scars, her moments of doubt, and her journey through therapy. By destigmatizing chronic illness and mental health struggles, she has transformed her platform into a source of comfort and empowerment for her millions of young fans. She is redefining what it means to be strong, showing that true strength isn't about being flawless. It's about being honest, resilient, and brave enough to share your whole story, even the painful parts, with the world. Coming in at number 18 on our countdown is a global superstar who, at the absolute peak of his career, was stopped dead in his tracks by a terrifying and sudden affliction. We're talking about none other than Justin Bieber. Just as he was launching his massive Justice World Tour, a triumphant return to the global stage after years of personal struggles, a mysterious illness struck with shocking speed. Fans were left confused and concerned, as concert dates were abruptly postponed, with little explanation beyond citing health issues. The entire world watched, holding its breath, as one of the biggest names in modern music simply vanished from the public eye. His face, once plastered on every screen, now hidden away as he faced an unknown medical crisis. The silence was finally broken by a raw, vulnerable video posted directly to his millions of followers. The pop icon revealed he was suffering from Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, a rare neurological disorder caused by the same virus that causes chickenpox. The effects were startlingly visible. One entire side of his face was completely paralyzed. He couldn't blink his eye, he couldn't flare his nostril, and most devastatingly, he couldn't smile. For an artist whose boyish charm and expressive performances were central to his identity, this was a catastrophic blow. The video was a stark and sobering look behind the curtain of fame, showing a young man stripped of his pop armor, facing a frightening future head-on. The diagnosis derailed everything. The remainder of his world tour, a monumental undertaking with dozens of dates across multiple continents, was officially cancelled. This wasn't just a minor setback, it was a complete shutdown of a billion-dollar enterprise, affecting not just Bieber but thousands of crew members, dancers, and venue staff. Beyond the financial fallout, the personal toll was immense. Bieber spoke of the extreme difficulty in just eating, of the frustration and the pain. He embarked on an intensive regimen of facial exercises and therapies, documenting the slow, arduous process of trying to regain control over his own muscles, a fight measured in millimeters of movement, a battle for every flicker of an eyelid. Complicating his recovery was another chronic condition that Bieber has been battling for years, Lyme disease. This persistent bacterial infection can cause its own host of debilitating symptoms, including fatigue, joint pain, and neurological issues, creating a perfect storm of health challenges. The combination of Ramsay-Hunt and Lyme disease meant his comeback was not just a matter of nerve recovery, but a constant struggle against an undercurrent of chronic illness. His journey has become a testament to resilience, a public fight that shows even the world's biggest stars are not immune to the unpredictable and life-altering nature of serious medical conditions, forcing him to prioritize health over superstardom. At number 19, we have an artist whose entire career has been built on spectacle, theatricality, and superhuman endurance. But behind the avant-garde fashion and the powerhouse vocals, Lady Gaga is fighting a relentless, invisible war. For years, she suffered from mysterious, agonizing pain that doctors struggled to diagnose, leaving her feeling isolated and misunderstood. She was the monster of fame, the queen of reinvention, yet privately, her body was betraying her in the most excruciating way. This wasn't stage fright or exhaustion, this was something far deeper, a chronic condition that threatened to silence one of pop's most dynamic and fearless performers. Finally, she put a name to her torment: fibromyalgia. This complex disorder is characterized by widespread musculoskeletal pain accompanied by fatigue, sleep, memory, and mood issues. In her documentary, Gaga 5'2", she pulled back the curtain, giving fans an unflinching look at the reality of her condition. We saw her in tears from full-body muscle spasms, receiving injections to manage the pain just moments before stepping on stage to deliver a flawless performance. The contrast was jarring and powerful, revealing the sheer force of will required for her to simply keep going, to put on that poker face for the world while enduring a firestorm of pain within. The illness has forced Gaga to cancel tours and postpone shows, moments that she described as devastating. During her Joanne World Tour, the pain became so severe that she was hospitalized, unable to continue. These weren't decisions made lightly. They were made out of sheer necessity when her body simply could not take anymore. To manage her symptoms, she relies on a demanding and constant regimen of treatments. She has been open about using ice baths, heated blankets, infrared saunas, and intravenous drips to combat the inflammation and pain. It's a non-stop, around-the-clock effort to maintain a baseline of functionality that many of us take for granted, all so she can continue to be the artist her little monsters adore. Lady Gaga's openness has transformed her from a pop icon into a powerful advocate for those living with chronic pain. By sharing her vulnerability, she has given a voice to millions who suffer in silence, helping to destigmatize an often misunderstood condition. She proves that strength isn't about being invincible. It's about the courage to fight, to adapt, and to be honest about the struggle. Her battle with fibromyalgia is a crucial part of her story, a testament to the incredible resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that even our most theatrical superstars face profound and deeply human challenges far away from the flashing lights of the stage. Our number 20 artist is the frontman of one of the most beloved good time bands of the 1980s, a voice synonymous with feel-good rock and roll. But for Huey Lewis, the heart of rock and roll is now tragically fading into silence. In 2018, just before a show in Dallas, Lewis experienced a sudden and catastrophic loss of hearing in his right ear. The sound of the world around him became a distorted, cacophonous roar, making it impossible to discern pitch. For a singer whose career depends on hearing the band and finding the right note, this was the ultimate nightmare. It wasn't just a challenge. It was a career-ending catastrophe that brought his life as a touring musician to an immediate and heartbreaking halt. The diagnosis was Meniere's disease, a rare inner ear disorder that affects balance and hearing. There is no cure. The condition is unpredictable, with sufferers experiencing fluctuating levels of hearing loss, vertigo, and a persistent ringing in the ears known as tinnitus. For Huey, the distortion is so severe that he describes music, the very thing that gave his life meaning, as noise. He was forced to cancel all future tour dates, informing his fans that he simply could not perform any longer. The news sent a shockwave through the music community, a somber end to the party for a man who brought so much joy to so many. The psychological toll has been immense. Lewis has spoken openly about the deep depression that followed his diagnosis, admitting to dark thoughts as he grappled with losing his identity. Music wasn't just his job, it was his life, his passion, his therapy. To have it stolen from him in an instant was a cruel twist of fate. He now clings to what he calls good ear days, rare and fleeting moments when the distortion subsides just enough for him to work in the studio. During these precious windows of clarity, he and the band managed to record their 2020 album, Weather, a project that became both a final gift to fans and a poignant document of his struggle. Today, Huey Lewis lives in a state of perpetual uncertainty, praying for a medical breakthrough that might restore what he has lost. He can no longer enjoy the simple pleasure of listening to a record or the thrill of stepping onto a stage. His story is a devastating reminder of how fragile the gifts we cherish can be. While his iconic songs will live on forever, the voice that powered them now exists in a world where the sound of music has become a source of pain, a heartbreaking silence for the man who was once the undisputed heart of rock and roll. Coming in at number 21 on our countdown is a story of incredible resilience and, honestly, profound heartbreak. We're talking about the one and only Randy Travis, a true titan of country music whose iconic baritone defined a generation of hits. His voice, rich and warm like a Tennessee sunset, gave us timeless classics like Forever and Ever, Amen, and Deeper Than the Holler. For decades, his was the voice you could count on, a steady, comforting presence on the radio and on stage. But in 2013, the music world held its breath as a catastrophic health crisis threatened to silence that legendary voice forever, reminding us all just how fragile even the strongest among us can be. It all began with a diagnosis of viral cardiomyopathy, which is a terrifying condition where a virus attacks and weakens the heart muscle. But what happened next was even more devastating. While hospitalized for this serious cardiac issue, Randy Travis suffered a massive stroke, an event that would irrevocably alter the course of his life and career. The stroke was severe, leaving him with aphasia, severely impaired speech, and paralysis on the entire right side of his body. The man who had commanded stadiums with his powerful vocals was suddenly unable to form words, unable to walk, unable to hold a guitar. The future looked incredibly bleak. The road back has been nothing short of grueling, a testament to the human spirit's will to survive. For years, Randy has undergone intensive, relentless physical and speech therapy, fighting to reclaim every small piece of the life that was stolen from him in an instant. His wife Mary has been his unwavering rock, his advocate, and his voice when he could not speak for himself. Together they have faced this unimaginable challenge with a grace and strength that is truly awe-inspiring. Every small victory, every halting word, every step taken is a monumental achievement, a battle won in a long and arduous war against his own body. Today, Randy Travis is a symbol of hope. While a full recovery of his singing voice remains heartbreakingly out of reach, there have been moments of pure, unadulterated magic. At his Country Music Hall of Fame induction with his wife's help, he managed to sing a few emotional lines of Amazing Grace, bringing the entire room to tears. These brief, beautiful notes are a powerful reminder of the artist within, the voice that still lives inside him, fighting to be heard. His journey is a poignant, powerful lesson in perseverance, proving that even when the music fades, the spirit of the musician endures. At number 22, we have an artist whose signature song is, pretty much synonymous with holiday joy, but whose personal journey has been marked by unimaginable pain. Chris Rea, the man with the gravelly voice behind the perennial classic Driving Home for Christmas, has been navigating a treacherous road of health battles for over 2 decades. His story is a stark reminder that behind the festive, feel-good hits can lie a private struggle of immense proportions. For Chris Rea, the fight began with a diagnosis that would change everything: pancreatic cancer, which is honestly one of the most formidable and feared diseases a person can face. The odds were stacked against him from the very start. The initial battle was brutal. To save his life, doctors performed a Whipple procedure, a massive and complex surgery that involves removing parts of the pancreas, small intestine, and stomach. While the surgery was a success in fighting the cancer, it left him with lifelong consequences, including becoming a type 1 diabetic dependent on daily insulin injections. This was just the beginning of a relentless cycle of health crises. His body, forever altered by the surgery, became susceptible to recurring infections and complications, turning his life into a constant state of high alert, never knowing when the next emergency might strike and pull him back into the hospital. Despite these overwhelming challenges, Chris Rea's passion for music refused to be extinguished. He continued to write and tour, pouring his experiences into his blues-infused rock. But the shadow of his health was never far away. In 2017, the world saw just how precarious his situation was when, in the middle of a performance in Oxford, he suddenly collapsed on stage. The audience watched in horror as the show came to an abrupt halt. The cause was internal bleeding, a severe complication from his past surgeries. It was a terrifying public display of the private war he had been waging for years. The incident was a wake-up call, a stark warning from his own body. Doctors delivered a grim prognosis, cautioning that another major flare-up, another instance of severe bleeding, could very well be fatal. Each performance now carries an immense weight, a calculated risk he takes for the love of his art. For Chris Rea, the simple act of stepping on stage is an act of defiance against his own mortality. He continues to create, knowing that any show, any song could potentially be his last, making every note he plays that much more precious and resonant. Crashing into our countdown at number 23 is a rock and roll screamer whose voice is as iconic as the thunderous riffs he sings over. We're talking about the legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson. For decades, his high-voltage, glass-shattering wail has been the battle cry for generations of rock fans, the unmistakable sound of anthems like Back in Black and Thunderstruck. He is the embodiment of rock and roll endurance, a seemingly indestructible force of nature. But in 2016, that force collided with an immovable object, the very real threat of total and permanent deafness, a crisis that nearly ended his career and his connection to the world. The diagnosis was catastrophic. Years of standing in front of walls of amplifiers, of pushing his vocal cords and his eardrums to their absolute limits, had finally taken their toll. Doctors delivered the devastating news that if he continued to perform in large arenas and stadiums, he faced total hearing loss. The risk was no longer a possibility, it was a certainty. With a heavy heart, AC/DC announced that Brian had to step away from the band's Rock or Bust World Tour. It felt like the end of an era, a deafening silence falling over one of rock's loudest and most beloved voices. For any singer, losing their hearing is a nightmare. For a singer in a band as legendarily loud as AC/DC, it's a career-ending catastrophe. Brian Johnson fell into a deep despair, wrestling with the idea that he might never again feel the roar of the crowd or the power of the band behind him. The thought of being cut off from the music that had defined his entire life was almost too much to bear. The rock and roll world mourned with him, believing we had heard the last of that iconic screech. But Brian Johnson wasn't ready to go quietly into the night. His fight was just beginning. In a twist worthy of a rock opera, hope arrived in the form of cutting-edge experimental technology. Working with an audio expert, Brian began testing a revolutionary in-ear device that utilizes bone conduction. Instead of sending sound through the damaged ear canal, it transmits vibrations through the bones of his skull directly to his inner ear. It was a risky, unproven solution, but it was his only shot. Miraculously, it worked. The technology allowed him to hear the music with stunning clarity, without causing further damage. Against all odds, Brian Johnson was back, defying doctors' warnings and reclaiming his place on stage, ready to outshout the stadiums once more. Alright, coming in at number 24 on our countdown, we have an absolute legend, a true original whose influence is felt across genres, from hip-hop to rock and beyond. We're talking about the one and only Dr. Funkenstein, the Prime Minister of Funk, George Clinton. For decades, he's been the mastermind behind Parliament Funkadelic, piloting the mothership with an unmatched psychedelic energy that has made millions move their feet. His stage presence is iconic, a whirlwind of rainbow-colored hair, wild outfits, and a call to action that no one can resist. We want the funk. But behind that larger-than-life persona, the years of relentless touring and living the rock star life have started to present a bill that even the godfather of funk has to pay, a battle that takes place far from the stage lights. The truth is, the funk is eternal, but the human body has its limits. George Clinton is now grappling with a trifecta of serious health conditions that would sideline most performers for good. He's coping with the daily management of diabetes, a condition that requires constant monitoring and discipline. On top of that, he's dealing with significant heart disease, a serious concern for a man who still gives his all under the hot stage lights, night after night. And as if that weren't enough, multiple hip replacements have been necessary to keep him mobile, a testament to the physical toll of decades spent dancing, jumping, and commanding the stage with unparalleled vigor. These aren't minor issues, they are major, life-altering challenges. Every single time George Clinton steps out for an encore, there's a palpable sense that this could truly be the last one. You can see it in the way he moves, a little more carefully now, but with the same indomitable spirit shining through. He's been very open about it, telling audiences and interviewers that he swears each show might be his final performance. There's an urgency, a raw honesty to his presence that adds another layer of emotional depth to the funk. Yet even with nurses and medical staff reportedly waiting in the wings, he pushes through, shouting his iconic catchphrase until his voice is raw, refusing to let his physical ailments silence the music that has defined his entire existence. It's a powerful, almost defiant act of artistic will. He is literally fighting against his own body's limitations to deliver that one last blast of pure, uncut funk to the faithful. The image of the funk master, supported by modern medicine yet still channeling that otherworldly energy, is both heartbreaking and incredibly inspiring. It's a stark reminder that the creative fire doesn't just flicker out. For a legend like George Clinton, it rages against the dying of the light. He is a living, breathing testament to the idea that as long as you have a microphone in your hand and a beat in your soul, you give the people what they came for, no matter the personal cost. And now, for our final artist on this emotional countdown, number 25. We're honoring a voice that is pure elegance, a true icon of sophistication and soul whose velvety alto has provided the soundtrack for generations of listeners. The one, the only, Dionne Warwick. From Walk On By to I Say a Little Prayer, her collaborations with Burt Bacharach and Hal David are the definition of timeless pop perfection. Her phrasing is impeccable, her delivery is effortless, and her presence is pure class. She has navigated the shifting tides of the music industry for over 60 years, collecting Grammys and accolades while maintaining an aura of grace. But behind that serene and powerful voice, a storm of health issues has been brewing, threatening to still one of music's most cherished instruments. Dionne Warwick's battle is a quiet but persistent one, fought not against a single catastrophic diagnosis, but a combination of chronic conditions that directly impact her ability to perform. She lives with chronic asthma, a condition that can make the simple act of breathing a challenge, let alone sustaining the long, beautiful notes she is famous for. Compounding this is a heart arrhythmia, an irregular heartbeat that requires careful management and adds another layer of physical stress. And as if these weren't enough, a nasty fall in recent years has had lingering effects, further limiting her mobility and stamina, making the rigors of standing and performing on a stage for an extended period an immense physical challenge. This combination of ailments has forced a significant change in how she approaches her craft. The days of commanding a stage with effortless gliding movements are behind her. Now she often records and performs while seated, a concession to the physical toll her body has endured. It's a practical necessity that allows her to conserve her energy and focus entirely on what matters most, her voice. Reports often mention that an oxygen tank is kept nearby, a silent reminder of the constant fight for breath control that has become her new reality. It's a poignant image for a singer whose breath control was once considered among the most masterful in the entire industry. Yet, despite all these obstacles, Dionne Warwick refuses to let her legendary voice fade away into silence. She remains fiercely determined to continue creating music, to share the gift she was given with the world for as long as she possibly can. Her recent work, recorded from a chair with medical support at the ready, is a powerful statement of resilience. It proves that the essence of her artistry, that incredible tone, that emotional intelligence, that unique ability to tell a story in song, remains untouched. She is a living lesson that even when the body weakens, the spirit of a true artist can and will find a way to sing on. And there you have it. 25 incredible musicians, 25 stories of immense talent and unimaginable struggle. From Celine Dion's fight against a rare neurological disorder to Dionne Warwick's quiet determination, these battles prove that fame, fortune, and a wall of platinum records are no shield against the frailties of the human condition. These health journeys show that even our biggest chart toppers can't outrun mortality. Their stories are a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit, the will to create, and the courage to face down life's toughest challenges in the public eye, all while leaving behind a legacy of music that will live on forever. It's a stark and often heartbreaking look behind the curtain of celebrity. These artists have given us the soundtrack to our lives, our first loves, our biggest heartbreaks, and our greatest triumphs. Now seeing them in their most vulnerable moments adds a profound new layer to their music, and it's a side of the story that deserves to be told. So we have to ask you, the viewers who have come on this journey with us, which one of these stories shocked you the most? Was it Jason Becker composing masterpieces with just his eyes? Or perhaps the sudden shocking diagnosis that faced Justin Bieber? And who did we miss? Let us know which other musical heroes are fighting their own brave battles. Your voice matters in this conversation. Drop your thoughts, your memories, and your tributes in the comments section below. We read every single one, and your engagement is what builds this incredible community of music lovers. If these stories of resilience and courage moved you, please take a moment to slam that like button. It truly helps us bring more important stories like these to light, and it shows your support for the artists who have given us so much over the years. We appreciate you being here and sharing in this powerful countdown. And finally, before we sign off, don't forget to subscribe to Hollywood Misfortune and ring that notification bell. We have so much more in the pipeline, from deep dives into music history to breaking news on your favorite stars. By subscribing, you ensure you never miss a beat, and you'll be the first to know when we drop our next video. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for celebrating the enduring power of music and the incredible artists who make it. We'll see you next time.